Another year, another list of the best shows I watched. Not every show can be amazing, which is why this year I'm also including a top 10 worst list, which will be available next week. There'll be a link in the description and in the iCard once that's posted, in case you wanted to watch it after this video. But yes, first things first, my top 10 best shows of the year. I know I didn't get around to watching everything, and I'm very certain your list this year will probably look very different from mine. So go ahead and share your own list in the comments. Let's not waste any more time, let's dive into number 10.
It's disgusting how they treat bananas. They just strip their peels and throw them away. That's the banana's house, you assholes!
Solar Opposites once again makes it to my list. Every time I've done one of these, Solar Opposite makes it, which I guess is a testament to how consistently good the show is. I also think this latest season is its best so far. Corvo's new voice actor is such a huge improvement in my opinion.
I hate being late, it makes me feel hot and weird.
You make me feel hot and weird.
The performance is so much funnier and a much more interesting contrast compared to the other characters. This season has unique developments with the ongoing small people in the wall plotline, and also now diving into the Silver Cops more. Both are great, but it's really the fine-tuning of the Opposites' family that I love. Corvo is more casual now than ever, and it leads to a lot of funny and endearing moments with the family.
I know you love the Seven Wonders of the Ancient World, so here's a poppet shaped like the mausoleum at Halicarnassus.
Ooh.
It's not all adult raunchy humor, it's legitimately sweet too, which I'm a sucker for. It's not an intense show, it's an easy watch, which is what keeps it only at number 10. It's great fun, but I personally like the stories with a bit more meat to their plot threads. Those two boys are so cute together.
Terry, that was our wake-up call. We will never leave the pupa in the car alone again.
I love Yellow Jackets. After 2 years, we finally get the second season, and it's amazing. Continuing the story of a group of high school girls being stranded in the wilderness, paired with the story of them in the modern day as adults, trying to keep the events from the wilderness as much of a secret as they can manage. The mystery of the show is gripping, and I think the second season really stepped up its game. The half of the story that takes place in the past with the wilderness is super creative to see, as new problems arise as the season turns to winter. Coach's wounds are getting to him, and Shauna's pregnancy problems add to the tense situation of their survival.
I saw you! You were covered in blood! Shauna, stop it!
But where this season really picked things up was with the adult half of the story. The first season's adult half was more often than not boring, especially with Shauna's milquetoast plotline about cheating on her husband. This time around, we dive a lot more into the other, much more interesting girls, including seeing more surviving members than we might have initially thought was still around.
The Lottie who was committed to a mental institution in Switzerland, Lottie? Yes!
The only downside to the show was the mind-numbingly drab plot with Shauna's daughter. Ugh, it's so pointless and boring. No, I don't care about Shauna's trouble with her teenager. I want to see the girls figuring out how to survive in the winter. Whatever. With the trajectory of the show, I think its third season could really go even more above and beyond. Also, Elijah Wood is in this one, and I love him. He's so good.
The wilderness chose.
This little Disney show came out of nowhere, and I never saw anybody talking about it, which is such a shame because it's actually super cool. On the surface, it seems like the story is about the son of Son Goku from the famous story Journey to the West, attending a normal high school and fighting off epic bad guys. But the real heart of the show is the story of our main character, Jin.
Jim Wang here.
Wang.
This is Wayne Chung.
Wei Chen.
Who faces systemic racism, trying to be popular and cool, and is struggling with his parents' crumbling marriage. It's actually very heartfelt and very powerful.
You know, in those days, people who looked like me weren't on television.
While it's awesome seeing amazing martial arts battles and seeing other iconic characters from the Journey to the West popping up to handle the magical side of the story, the human side is still emotional and carries the show for me, culminating in an amazing finale that just brings everything together perfectly in such a fun and interesting way. It's got a lot of great humor, epic fight scenes, and emotional sucker punches sewn intricately all throughout. I highly recommend you check it out. More people need to be talking about this one.
I mean, a little bit cooler than guide. Servant? Yeah, no, you're right. Guide's better.
I'm gonna try to keep this section short because, if you don't know, the Pokemon Company really hates it when people have footage of their anime in their videos, so we're stuck on slideshow PowerPoint mode for this section, whee! But I had to have Pokemon on this list because it really was a huge moment for my life. Pokemon has been there since the very beginning. Literally, some of my earliest memories is of watching the Pokemon anime, and watching Ash's story after all of these years finally come to an end was something I actually never thought I'd get to see. Some of you might be confused and say that Pokemon came out last year, and technically yes, it did, but I waited for the English dub to come out, and that was this year, so I'm going off of the English dub release date. No, I don't care about your arguments about subs over dubs. That's such a tired, boring argument. I do not care. I support English voice actors. Get over it. But yeah, the finale of Ash's 20-plus year-long journey, the final fight with Leon, was truly amazing. Legitimately some of the most amazing animation ever. They pulled out all of the stops to make this final fight the biggest spectacle the whole show has ever seen. It was emotional and made me cry, and then the final episode was weird and it made me emotional and cry, but in like a totally different way. It was crazy. It's hard to say goodbye to Ash after all of these years, but he and Pikachu really went out with the best send-off they could have had. Full disclosure, I didn't play the games. I knew, like, the gist of the story, but going into this show, I had no real expectations of what I'd see, so I really was not expecting to be blown away by it all. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey's performances and chemistry is literally perfect. Their dynamic together is the whole point of the show, and both of them do such amazing jobs bringing that idea to life.
Someone shot at me and missed.
See, that's cool.
Including all the intricate nuances and issues they face along the way, both with each other and everything they face in the world in general. I've seen plenty of zombie stories in my life, so I really want to see something creative and different whenever a new one rolls around. The cordyceps angle for the clickers is so cool. I knew that was from the original game, but I think the thing that really elevates this plot is the fact it's a story about a girl who somehow has an immunity to it.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Paired with the unlikely guardian who has baggage about his own daughter's death, and it's a perfect recipe for a surprisingly humanizing plot in the middle of the monster-infected world. But of course, the thing that really elevates the show is the rest of the world around Joel and Ellie. Episode 3, with Bill and Frank, is the most beautiful, self-contained zombie story
The government are all Nazis.
The government are all Nazis!
Well, yeah, now, but not then.
I've ever seen. That one episode alone deserves to be watched. It should be studied when people talk about perfectly constructed short films. Those two boys are so cute together. I think this proves you don't need to be a fan of the game to really enjoy the show, and apparently even if you are a fan of the game, there's lots to love here too. I'm nervous about its second season because I know some things about the second game, but also I just can't wait to see how this messy relationship dynamic and their story is going to continue to move on from here.
You're not gonna scare us.
Scared him?
I had shockingly low expectations for this one. I don't know why, but I just assumed there was no way Richter Belmont's story could hold a candle to Trevor's story. Boy, was I wrong. Man, sometimes I love it when I'm wrong. We continue the adventures of the last living heir of the renowned vampire hunter lineage as Richter and his squad of badasses try to stop a vampire-themed French Revolution.
It's like Versailles emptied and its dregs washed up here.
Which really is all just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the vampire's desires to rule the whole world. That's one of the things that made this show a step up from the previous series. The villains. Complex and empathetic, but still ruthless, dangerous, and in some cases made me conflicted on whether or not I should be rooting for them or against them.
What extraordinary thing happened here?
The gorgeous animation of this show really hammers home the threat of the vampires and their grotesquely designed night beasts as well. But it's not just the villains who stepped up their game. The heroes are coming equipped with more and more awesome skills of their own. Unsurprisingly, Richter is amazing with a whip, and every single time I am just blown away at the animation on that, because I know it had to be difficult to animate that whip, oh my god. But on top of that, it's also been a good couple of decades from the last story, which means magic is a lot more common. We got a beast summoner, we have a metal bender, and it's all just really amazingly choreographed and all comes together perfectly. Obviously, the animation is phenomenal, and thankfully the story is just as amazing. We leave the first season off with quite the cliffhanger, so I'm going to be on the edge of my seat waiting to see what happens next. Real talk, I've never cared about Superman. I don't hate the character, but I've always found him dreadfully dull. This show finally made me start to care about Superman. Not only him, but all of his friends and enemies as well. My adventures with Superman is precious. It's adorable and sweet watching Clark trying to figure out the extent of his powers while also trying to keep it a secret. Lois quickly became a fan favorite thanks to her spunky go-get-em personality and her top-tier design, but for me, Jimmy was hands down the best character. Absolutely hilarious.
I can't believe our alarm clock exploded again. Why do you think that keeps happening? So hey!
He had all the best jokes, and I would really love to see him come back to play a much larger role in the story as it continues to move forward. The romance between Clark and Lois was surprisingly gripping. It even broke the internet for a few days when people started arguing over Lois throwing herself off of a building to make Clark prove he's Superman. As if she hasn't been doing this sort of thing for years. Also, she 100% already knew he was Superman. She wouldn't have thrown herself off a building if she wasn't 100% certain he was going to catch her. That's the point of the character, whatever. Also, it is so refreshing seeing Superman's rogue gallery. Supes has been stuck fighting Lex Luthor and Metallo for like 20 years. Yawn. Getting a look at some of his other baddies was such a nice change of pace. I never expected to care this much about Superman, and I'm so glad the show was able to show me the appeal to what Clark really is. When all the other superheroes in media has been disappointing more often than not, it's nice seeing Superman really cutting above everyone else.
To interview you for the Daily Planet.
Sorry, no comment.
It's not a Judgmental Critter top best list if there's not Mike Flanagan's latest work on there. I've praised Mike Flanagan's work non-stop for a while, so unsurprisingly, I've found his latest story amazing as well. The Fall of the House of Usher is a fascinating amalgamation of a bunch of different Edgar Allan Poe stories and poems, woven together to create an original story following the Usher household as the head of the house recounts the way his 6 children all died.
It's time.
Each one structured to heavily reference a different Poe story, from The Black Cat to The Mask of the Red Death to The Telltale Heart, and tons more. If you know the stories being referenced, the show is so much fun. There's a lot of little things sprinkled all throughout, every single character references something, and it's so cool seeing how they've tied things together in different ways.
Your brother's dead.
This is tragic, but a few "my heart will go on" tweets will pat it out.
If you don't know these stories, you might find the whole show a lot harder to predict, but no less thrilling. Even though the first episode establishes that this is a recounting of how each of the Usher children dies, there's still a lot of exciting, nail-biting mystery to unravel, explaining how these seemingly magical deaths are all occurring, one right after the next. The threat that one of the Ushers is secretly betraying the family and leaking information to the feds, and the overall plot of the Ushers abusing the Fortunato industry to create an empire built on the bodies of pharmaceutical addiction. It's truly gripping. It's so smartly sewn together and inspired me to look up all of the stories I hadn't have read before. Mike Flanagan's work is always above and beyond, and this latest show is no different. Also, Mark Hamill's in this one, and I love him. He's so good.
You broke my nose. Was that on purpose? Ed?
Last year, Our Flag Means Death landed as my number 3 show, so it's awesome seeing it beat its own record with my list this year. The second season continues the romantic misadventures of the crew of the Revenge, seeing the complicated back and forth of the relationship between Blackbeard and Stede Bonnet as they continue to try to embark on various pirate misadventures. The whole cast is amazing and fun, and I think this season did a great job getting the whole crew involved in the story a lot more.
Raise your motherfucking glasses, or feel my absolute wrath.
We got to spend a bit more time with each of them. I will say, it's hard to compare Season 2 to Season 1. I think each episode was better constructed and had better character moments, but the plotline for the season as a whole felt a little all over the place and could have been better refined.
Blackbeard, are you poor now?
No, just trying something different, man.
Regardless, I still love seeing them all again. The season leaned much more heavily into the romantic and comedic aspects of the show, which, while it means there was less traumatic moments for the characters, there was a ton more heartwarming and genuinely sweet moments. I think the show has a ton of potential moving forward from here. We've introduced a handful of really cool new characters, which almost make up for the heartbreaking loss of some of the other characters. Our Flag Means Death is beautiful, cute, and still very hilarious. Those two boys are so cute together.
God sake, take it away!
Now before we get to number 1, here's some honorable mentions.
The Legend of Vox Machina.
I've been meaning to make a full review of this season to follow up my last review I did for season 1. I think the thing making me drag my heels on that though is the fact that while this season is a lot of fun, it's just not as gripping to me as the first one was. The animation got a huge boost in quality and I really loved seeing more depth for the cast, but I don't know, the Feywilds aren't really all that fun to me. Also, I'm just way more excited for the Mighty Nine. The third season was a bit slow to get through. This time around, we see our 3 podcasters arguing with each other, all sort of scrambling to figure out what they want to do with their lives, which was a bit of a bummer. I would have liked to see less inter-team conflict and more fun detective work. That's the selling point of the show, after all. But the last 3 episodes of the show really saved it for me. Paul Rudd, especially. He delivers one of his best performances ever, and that's saying something. Season 4 has already been greenlit, and I'm kind of hoping they wrap things up soon. I don't know how many more murders can keep happening in the building, after all. I don't know, this 5th season was good. Obviously, the show is very, very funny. But maybe I'm just tired of seeing things get reset back to the status quo by the end of the season. It was still great, but just couldn't break into my top 10 this year. Anyways, it's time to talk about my favorite show of 2023. The best of this year was... I love this show! I've already made a mini video talking about a drinking game I made out of it, and if you've seen that vid, you know that I've watched One Piece 5 times in a row. I just had so much fun with it.
You know what a load of cannon, right? Yeah, of course, I've loaded thousands of them. This must be a different model than I'm used to.
I had never watched or read One Piece beforehand. I could tell you, like, the names of the Straw Hat crew, but that's about it. So I had no expectations going in, other than the worry that this might end up like Netflix's last attempt at adapting an anime. Oh. Little did I know that these inspiring pirates would quickly become my new obsession. I've completely fallen in love with everything about this show, and it inspired me to start getting into the anime as well. I'm now so excited to see Vivi and Chopper and Robin and Crocodile because of course One Piece has already been greenlit for a second season. I'm so excited.
You're a crew!
Nope, not a crew.
Together.
We follow the story of Luffy, who wants to be like his childhood hero and be a pirate. Not the kind who attacks innocent people, however, a different kind of pirate, who cares about the freedom of adventure. He gathers a ragtag crew, all equipped with their own awesome skill set, and embark on a long journey to find the One Piece, the biggest treasure rumored to exist. It's such a sweet show. Every character has such an intense backstory that delivers so many unexpected gut punches to your heart. I did not expect One Piece to make me cry so much. The anime is legendary in its own right, so it shouldn't be a surprise the live-action adaptation could capture that same spirit, but it is surprising. It's honestly incredible just how much care went into adapting the story for live action. The effects of their magical skills, the choreography with their weapons and abilities, the style of their clothes, feeling appropriately colorful but not looking like tacky Halloween costumes, unlike that other show. There's so much love and detail, and it's turned me into a huge fan of the franchise, which in the end is honestly the best thing about this live-action One Piece, that I know it's inspired a ton of people just like me to fall in love with One Piece as well. So the fandom can continue to grow more and more as we embark on this new adaptation of the classic anime. It's beautiful, and I adore it so much. It is fun, it's funny, it's gripping, I love it with all of my heart, and I can't wait to see more.
And become King of the Pirates!
Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Nako, Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, G Extreme, Classy Critic, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Zero to Hero, Isaiah, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Messiah Complex, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, The Watcher, Omega Fighter, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Swift Cannon, The Infinity Effect, Gino, Twisty, and Juan. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, let me know what your top 10 best is in the comments. There's a lot that I didn't get to because they were releasing by the end of the year, and I wouldn't have time to finish watching them all by the time this video had to come out. So if there's other things that I missed or I haven't seen, I know I didn't watch like Cake and Fiona or Invincible this year. Any and all thoughts and opinions, and your own thoughts and opinions about what you think is the best, leave them in the comments below. And don't forget that the worst list is coming out next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. I'm gonna have so much fun with it, and I hope you do too. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.